Together we are facing the threat of the reckless and brutal regime in North Korea. The nuclear and ballistic missile programs of that regime require a determined response. The North Korean dictatorship has no regard for the safety and security of its people or its neighbors, and has no respect for human life.
All right, the president just a short time ago with the South Korean President Moon Jae-in, in which they outlined plans to get tougher on North Korea, and part of that isn't just sanctions against that country, among the most sanctioned on the planet, but to get tough with China as well. We've got the former U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, John Bolton, on what will happen now. He joins us from France right now, so there's a slight delay. But, Ambassador, what do you think of what they're talking about?
Well, I think if it looks like we're going to have a continuation of the past 25 years of policy of trying to put pressure on North Korea, now trying to put pressure on China to put pressure on North Korea, it's not going to work. We've tried this. We've tried this mix of negotiation and sanctions, and it hasn't slowed the North Koreans down at all. The Chinese have played a double game on this. They say they don't want North Korea to have nuclear weapons, but they have not pressed in the way they uniquely could to put that kind of pressure on North Korea. So I'm afraid after 25 years of failing with this approach, trying it in year 26 isn't going to do any differently.
What if you're targeting China? And one issue that's come up is go to the Chinese financial institutions that might finance or work with the North Koreans. One of them, of course, is the Bank of Dandong, a Chinese, a rather large Chinese bank that does business and financing North Korean endeavors. Finances a lot of foodstuffs, that sort of thing. What do you make of that?
Well, two questions there. One, the larger question of how you deal with China. But let me just focus on the smaller question of this particular bank that we've announced sanctions on, because it's endemic of a focus on sanctions that also leads to failure. Whenever you sanction this named individual or that named corporation or that named government entity, you're almost guaranteeing that the sanctions can be evaded. So we sanction the ABC Bank and say they can't do business in America. What happens is the next day suddenly springs up the XYZ Bank that has a post office box number different from the ABC Bank.
And all the more the case if you have state-run financial institutions. Yeah.
Well, precisely. So the bigger question is how you deal with China, and that's why I think we just have to face up to 25 years of trying a policy that hasn't succeeded. We need a different diplomatic approach, and I think it's the harder but likely more successful approach of trying to get China to agree to reunite the two Koreas. That's the way to end the North Korean nuclear threat, basically, is to end North Korea.
You know, I diverge a little bit here, but I wanted to get your thoughts on some of these Democrats who are so angry at the president, the tweeting and everything else, that some of them want him impeached, inserting the 25th Amendment to show that he's incapable of performing his duties as president. Never mind that this has never been implemented before in the 50 years it's been in effect. But what do you make of that approach, period?
Well, I think it represents a fundamental unwillingness to acknowledge that Hillary Clinton lost the election on November the 8th. And if it weren't the tweets today, it would be something else. It'd be, remember the collusion with Russia that nobody's found any evidence of. They simply don't accept that Donald Trump should be president. So I think the voters, by and large, are just going to discount that. But it's useful because it blocks the accomplishment of the Trump and Republican congressional substantive agenda. Get Obamacare repealed, get tax cuts enacted, cut through the regulatory morass. That's what this country really needs to get the economy going, and efforts that distract from that, I think, hurt everybody.
All right, Ambassador, thank you very, very much. Enjoy Paris, as it were. It's my French accent.